Hi, I'm Matt Wenning, Rescue Methods, and this is where we're going to talk about the assessment and utilizing the bench press. Although there's a lot of different exercises that we can use to analyze upper body strength, there's really just no replacement for this exercise. It's been tried and tried again to do all kinds of different things, but in reality, the bench press measures everything from triceps, shoulder, and chest strength and integrity all the way to back and leg tightness, believe it or not. So really the bench press is a full body exercise when understood how to do correctly. And it's also just a great all around tool to figuring out where somebody's strong and weak from the torso, the belly button up.
Today Bri Hill is going to demonstrate and help us with the bench press. And again, we're going to put her in the position that we would like to see them in and assess from there. The big thing is when they break their form. When they break their form, the exercise is over. Even though you might be able to muscle yourself through it, we want to stop the exercise. A, we don't want you to get injured, and B, we want to work on and assure that we're strengthening the areas we need to strengthen.
And not only in that perspective, but you got to remember that these things that we're showing you, they're assessment tools. Okay, we didn't talk about strength tools. Okay, strength tools are how much can you lift. And although these exercises do have some straining components to them, what we're looking for is technical breaks. When we find the technical break, what's the point of going farther than that? Okay, the technical break is showing us our strengths and our weaknesses, which is what we need to work on. Therefore, we've collected the information off the person, we go correct it, and we keep them safe. So we talked about how the bench press is a full body exercise. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is foot pressure. So we're going to have Bri drive her feet into the ground, flexing her quads and her glutes and locking the entire lower body into one piece. That is a big part of the bench press, is learning how to control something that's being done upper body into the lower body. It's all about transfer of pressure. So if I can have Bri's lower half be super solid, the top half makes the bench press, 1, a lot easier and stronger, 2, a lot safer. So with the bench press, we have to be very, very cautious that we're using spotters. We have a very precarious position. She's taking a weight out that's close to her body weight over her face and her neck. Not that safe. So the key with bench pressing is always make sure that you have a spotter or at the very minimum safety pins to protect the weight from hitting you in the face. Okay, that is one of the major things that I want to address. The other major thing I want to address is that you're in the most easily hurt position taking the bar out and putting it back. 1, because it's over the shoulder joint. Okay, so you always want to use a person to hand the weight out and put it in a proper bench press position. This allows 1, the shoulders to stay safe, 2, the person to be more comfortable because they're actually going to be lifting the weight where they're actually bench pressing it versus way over their face and having to take it back. So you always want to use a top spotter, but in most cases, even side spots as well. Things go wrong very, very quickly on these types of lifts, especially with beginners. It's very important to teach spotting. So what we're going to talk about next is hand position. In general, for most people, taking the thumb out and putting it right where the knurling starts is a good position, usually about shoulder width apart. That's a good overall position. A lot of big benchers have used that position for 40 years now, and it tends to take more pressure off of the shoulder and put it on the arm. Oftentimes when we talk about, see the big guys at the fire service or in Gold's Gym or wherever it may be, we always run into people, I can't bench anymore because my shoulder's hurt. Well, in general, the shoulder has very little to do with the bench press, although you would read in bodybuilding magazines. Otherwise, the bench press is an arm exercise, okay? And it's a back stabilization exercise. So you want to put your hands in a position, 1, where it's safer, and 2, where you can lift more weight. Sounds like 2 good positive things to me. So having the thumb out, putting it right where the knurling starts is a good baseline position for everybody. So here you're going to see Tom hand the weight to Bri. He's going to put it out at chest level, and then Bri, once she has complete control over the weight, is going to take it down, take it back up, and once the weight's locked, then Tom will take the weight and help her guide it back into the rack. Like we talked about before, taking the weight out to bench and putting it back is the most dangerous part of the lift. Therefore, we want to use spotters and helpers.
Okay, Bri, ready?
I'm ready. Okay.
That's how you would properly hand the weight out, put the weight back, talk with your spotters and let them know that everything, what's going on, everything's hunky-dory and they got it exactly set where they want it to be set. So we've saw the basic motion of the bench press. We've seen that the foot pressure is important, leg pressure is important, upper back is tight and locked in. But the next thing you have to see is the hand pressure you have to work on. So when I'm grabbing the bar in the hand, I don't let it sit in my hand. I squeeze the bar as tight as I can. That locks all the small muscles of the shoulder and the elbow into place to make sure that the bar path is what we want it to be. 1. 2, it allows us to press more weight because we have more control over the bar. So the first thing we have is a squeeze pressure. The next thing that we have is the thumb is going to be driven into the bar. That's going to cause the elbow to turn, therefore putting the bar in the proper path while we're bench pressing. This allows the elbow to take most of the pressure versus the shoulder. So 15, 20 years ago, why bench pressing got a bad rap was because everybody was hurting their shoulder. This amount of pressure in the hand allows the shoulder to take a lot less abuse and also allows you to lift more weight. So Bri's going to grab the bar where we talked about, thumb where the knurling starts. She's going to cuss the bar completely around. She's going to squeeze it with her knuckles until her hands are white. That's the key. And then she's going to drive her thumbs into the bar, which is going to allow her elbows to turn in. So she's going to do the same bench with the proper form. Okay.
Ready, Bri?
Ready.
Just going to hand it out. Good. Squeezing the bar, driving the hands in, press it up. Good. And rack. So there are some form breaks in the bench. The first one we're going to go over is the butt coming off of the bench. This usually puts a lot of neck pressure on the person doing the exercise and actually doesn't help you at all. So Bri's going to show you an example of the butt coming up and increasing the pressure on the neck, which is not what we want to do. And it's also not allowed in weightlifting meets anyway, so it doesn't help you at all.
Ready, Bri?
Ready.
Good. Now, in general, when you see that, it's because leg pressure is not being applied correctly and the upper back's not tight. So you can gain the same amount of transfer of energy without raising your butt. The butt should already be flexed when the bar comes out into hands length and ready to bench. The next big error that you'll see is the bench press actually chicken winging out. So when the weight comes down or up, you're going to see an elbow flare come way out. That's usually intuitive of strong front part of the shoulder, very weak triceps. That is also a time in which I have all of my firemen completely stop their bench press regardless of their weight. Most of the time, the shoulder injuries that I've seen occur during the bench press is because the shoulders have flared out and now it's all front delt muscle and very little anything else. We talked about in the beginning about keeping the back tight and locking it in, which almost makes that impossible. So she's going to show you a bad rep utilizing almost all shoulder to do the exercise. And start, release, press, and back. So as we saw there, we had the wrists bend back, we had the butt shoot up off of the bench, we had the elbows kick out, and we also ran the bar into the rack. Those multiple things are cause for form breakage and would stop the weight from increasing more than that. So once we get a brief 1 RM max, or when technique breaks, we're going to categorize beginner, intermediate, and advanced. For firemen, male firemen, under 200 pound bench would be considered beginner. Between 200 and 300 would be considered intermediate, and over a 300 pound bench would be advanced. For some people that might seem a little extreme on the weights, but trust me when I tell you that a 300 pound bench is more than achievable. It's a stepping stone actually to your upper body's potential. And for females, they have a slightly different gradient, but it's still just as important. So Fireman Bri Hill is going to talk about application for females in the bench press.
The bench press just isn't a male-dominated movement. It's for females too. A beginner's level would be anything under 100 pounds, 100 to 120 pounds would be intermediate, and anything above 120 pounds would be advanced. When I first got in the fire service and in the academy, I could only lift the 45-pound bar. Now I can bench press easily 135 pounds. It's important for women not to feel so timid when lifting weights.
And again, we're going to use this as a 1 rep max, so we're going to assess you on one strength movement here.